Hey everybody, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Prak. I'm a product marketing manager here at Rently, been with the company for over 4 years now, and really excited for today's session. So today we will be going over the best practices to protect your properties from rental scams and fraudulent activity. And joining us today, we have our head of security, Sahil Farooqi, and VP of product, Jared East. So Jared and Sahil will be diving deeper into the topic in just a moment. And I know we still have attendees joining in, but just to make most of your time with us today, I encourage everybody to be extremely interactive. We have poll questions, we have the chat box. So please use these options and ask us questions and provide us feedback. We want to provide you with information that's valuable to you. So please ask us what you'd like to know. And we will take up all the questions towards the end of our presentation. So yeah, a couple of housekeeping items. The session is being recorded, so please do mute yourselves. And if for some reason you face any technical difficulties during the session, please use the same registration link to log back in. And yeah, with that, I won't take more time and I will hand it off to Sahil because, I know Sahil and Jared are very excited to dive into this session. And so, yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen. And Sahil, Jared, maybe you can start with introducing yourselves.
Yeah, real quick. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining. Prak, thank you for inviting me on such a great topic webinar. I'm Sahil Farooqi. I work at Rently at Head of Security. I've been in the rental scam space for over 8 years. I was an early employee at DoorDash, preventing scams there through deliveries. And I've been working at Rently since 2017 and excited to speak with you today about how to be safe about rental scams. Jared, off to you.
Awesome. Yeah, very nice to meet you all and excited to share this topic with you. I know when we're talking about scams, it's really near and dear to my heart. Actually, my grandpa got scammed $100 and something thousand. All his life savings went away. So it's something I can't stand and I hate. But just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Jared. I the product here. I've been at Rently 8 years. I started on a picnic table where I brought my own computer to work, and now we've grown to over 400 employees nationwide and actually worldwide. And yeah, I'm excited to speak about this topic with you all.
Okay, great. So for the agenda, we'll start off with the latest rental scam trends, then we'll move to the common rental scam schemes, and then we'll talk about the best practices. So yeah, with that, Sahil,
let's kick it off with the first poll questions. So how often have you or your staff encountered rental scams? You have the choices there. Let the poll begins and we'll start talking about scams and let those answers come in.
Okay, great. I'm going to launch the poll now. I'll leave it on for maybe a minute. We have a lot of engagement. I encourage more people to engage with us. Please tell us.
Yeah, the more you tell us, the better it is for us to deep dive into certain situations and give you solutions that you're looking for in this webinar.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna close the poll now. So sharing the results. So, we have 48% who say monthly. That's a lot, but you still have 19% of the audience that's saying weekly and 3% saying daily. So, I mean, and I think the 6% who say they're not encountered scams, I think they're blessed. So I'm just gonna hide these results and I'll go back to the presentation. Sorry, just give me a moment. Sorry, just a small technical. Sahil, maybe do you want to, I'm pulling up the presentation. Maybe do you want to go ahead with some of the, yeah, I have it back here.
Yeah, we should talk about the recent trends in scams, right? We have 4 trends that we have displayed before. One is social engineering scam. Another one is vandalism, squatter, as well as transferring funds and wired money. So that's something that we see as 4 dominant categories in scams, all different, all each category, requires different tactics in order to get ahead. So here we have it again. I'll just want to quickly read it off for you. The latest scams are identity fraud. So are you who you say you are, social engineering, squatter, and vandalism. So first thing first, identity fraud is one of the most basic scams that I have come across, and one of the most basic scam challenges I came across in my early days at Rently. We had a huge issue with fake IDs and selfies entering our platform. So it is very important for all our property managers who are listening today to make sure that any individual that is going inside your property is a fully vetted individual, especially on basic information such as their ID and selfie. It is very important for you to capture the ID and selfie for an individual before letting them in all by themselves into a property. If you have the technical stacks to verify the ID and selfie, that is very, very good and A+ for you. But if you don't, it is very crucial that you still take a image capture of that ID and selfie and save it for yourself, and at least make some human-based decisions on whether this ID is legit or not. If you're not taking any of those steps, I would say it's a big red flag in terms of letting anyone into the property. But I would like Jared to speak a little bit more on the identity fraud, but it's one of the most basic things that we need to do in order to protect ourselves and our property.
Yeah, just to highlight this, one thing I often hear as a product manager is, hey, I want to increase my conversions. I want to get more people into my properties, to my homes, right? As far as the ID verification goes, we're very hesitant to remove that, as Sahil said, because we've seen that fake IDs are very easy to create. Literally, you could download a template, take a picture of yourself behind a white wall, and then upload that into most of these systems, and then you're not able to know that if it would look very real to you as it's uploaded, but it's actually going to be fake. So many scammers do this. They do this in the entry point, and then that leads on into the rental screening process as well, where they're using a fake identification even to apply. Next thing you know, like TransUnion put out, that fraud in a screening is not usually detected until 1 year later. 70% of them are detected over 1 year later of somebody actually living in your homes. So having a strong gateway with a strong monitoring system to understand, okay, is this person who they say they are, is a very good start. If you don't have that there, you're literally opening up your doors to people that could actually be fraudulent and not who they say they are.
Absolutely. And one thing else I want to add, in this day and age of AI, right? 2023 is all about AI technology. That produces a big problem for our rental scam industry here, because we want to make sure now that deep fake selfies are not passing through. So again, technical software or security software is definitely recommended to make sure that you are who you say you are, so that we eliminate the deep fake selfie situation as well. This next one up here is social engineering. This is one of the most hard-hitting scams when it comes to scam preventions. And what it means is that, the scammer tries to influence a person into doing many things, ignoring security alerts, ignoring the well-established protocols on what to do when you're performing a self-guided tour or even an agent tour. And all of those, diversions are deadly because they result in only benefiting the scammer and loss for the victim. So what can we do to make the victim wake up in the middle of the journey? What can we do to make the victim realize, hey, I'm walking down the wrong path and being influenced by someone I don't even know, right? So we want to make sure that we balance out right alerts And those alerts need to be targeting the trends that we're seeing in our scam arena right now. If there are trends where someone is pretending to be a landlord and influencing someone to make the wrong steps, then we need to make alerts that address that kind of a trend. And with those alerts, we are able to make someone realize that they're about to do the bad deed and stop them from doing that. You know, it's so hard to earn money and to just go ahead and give it off $3,000 to somebody you never met through Zilly is, you know, could set you back months, if not years, right? So we want to make sure that we avoid that. We want to make sure that we educate and create awareness to all our users so that they utilize the touring technology the appropriate way. Jared, anything to add on that?
Yeah, the social engineering aspect is what's really near and dear to my heart, considering this is what happened to my grandfather, who literally spent his whole savings. He thought he won a lottery, and there was someone from Jamaica calling him saying, oh, you just need to pay these taxes and then you'll get this millions of dollars. And then to the point where he didn't even believe his own family, and his own family is saying, hey, grandpa, that's a scam. Like, don't do that, grandpa. And then what does he do? He goes and he's like, no, I'll show you one day. I'll be able to buy you this beautiful house and all of these things. And so much so that like near the end of his life, he almost ran out of all of his retirement. So this is happening to renters, right? Renters that are searching for homes, right? They're being manipulated. They're literally being fished in by different listing sites that don't verify their listings, and various channels where they're actually doing what they can to open up a conversation. So much so that we even have to look at emails with the name pastor in it, because they tell stories like, hey, I'm a missionary that's overseas here, and I'm willing to give you a good deal because I really need this money. And imagine that, using that religious card to somebody who's religious, how that strikes home to them. So much so that then they go on and they end up wiring money, and then they end up losing a significant amount of money. And you know, in this time where we're in a uncertainty times with a recession that's has approached us, right, and rising interest rates and layoffs happening everywhere, right? People are always looking for a good deal, so this is something that we need to be on guard for. And we'll talk more about the future, what you could do to do that, but that's basically my highlight there.
The two other points I want to address is squatter and vandalism here. These are the two ones that really hit our property managers the most when it comes to revenue, you know, losing money. I know that every state has a different set of rules for the tenants and tenants' rights, right? So we want to make sure that we avoid those situations as much as possible, and we want to make sure that we are set up with success on how to deal with that situation when we are put in that situation, right? So when it comes to the security team operating within Rently, we take squatter and vandalism very, very seriously, and we work directly with our clients who are property managers to make sure that we provide every information to the local authority so that they have everything they need to take actions appropriately, right? So that goes from, you know, sharing information about what happened on the property to the local authority, making the local authority understand how the technology works and how they can leverage in terms of catching the bad actors, and really using our security stacks to make sure that all the information is revealed to the local authorities so that have a full fleshed out case for them. These are the four trends that we are seeing. And within those four trends, there are sub-trends, obviously, but these are the four main categories that are there when it comes to rental scams. One next.
Okay, so moving on, we have our second poll question. So I will go ahead and launch it. So which scams have you encountered the most, you know, out of all of the latest trends that we just went over? So let me launch the poll question. We'd love to hear, you know, which scams do you see happening more often, be it at the property level or at the rental level before they even check into the property? So let us know, and also do share some questions that you'd like us to answer in the chat box. So let me go ahead and launch the poll. Great. We have some great results coming in.
You know, one thing I didn't hit upon is this application fraud, which is completely related to identity fraud and social engineering. You know, if identity fraud and social engineering flourishes with a victim, they are most likely going to take part in the application fraud. If you don't know the identity of a person going inside your house, which is up for rent, then how would you know the identity of an applicant? Just goes hand in hand. I really would recommend all the listeners here to utilize security technology on applications, make sure that the user is fully vetted and we know who you are when you're applying for this property, because there are many other potential renters out there that could take up this property and we don't want to waste time with a scammer.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody, for voting. I'm going to close the poll, and thank you, Sahil, for sharing that information about application fraud. It's definitely something that's up on the rise. So I'm going to close the poll and share the results. So yeah, I mean, you know, I think the biggest one is identity fraud, and then the next one is squatter, and followed by applications. So yeah, thank you everybody for voting. Let me move back to the presentation. Yeah. So with that, you know, we'll talk about the common rental scam schemes. So Sahil, Jared, do you want to?
Yeah, one of the common rental scams that we see here is fake rental listings. So that basically means taking your listing, manipulating the content on the listing, making it cheaper than what it is, changing the contact information so that the person bypasses you and goes directly to the victim. Phishing people, so looking for people who are vulnerable, looking for people who are at a lower credit score standing, who have been denied housing in multiple different facets, and making them be a part of the scam situation. And bait and switch. Jared, you want to talk a little bit about bait and switch?
Yeah, so they all kind of tie together, right? So the bait and switch with the fake rental listing and phishing is sort of the same theme. But what we're seeing most commonly, we are actually going through Rently. If somebody reports that they think they're dealing with a scammer, those get reported to us, and we actually have people reach out to those renters to understand what's happening. And what we're learning from this, which is mind-boggling, because we didn't think this was possible, but just as of recently, what we're learning is that these scammers are going on major listing sites, household names, and they're actually able to just post properties on those listing sites. They're using that fake rental listing to actually fish in the people and bait and switch them, right? With a story that resonates to them. I'm thankful for the alerts that we called it forced friction in product, where we put friction in places on purpose in order to raise awareness. I'm thankful for that, for we're able to see this information, but I'm not too excited about like how the listing sites across the nation aren't taking this seriously. So it's something that we're bringing up, and as product managers, when we talk to these partnerships and we're making partnerships with them, so hey, let's talk about this subject right here. This is what we see that's happening. So we're making progress. Some of these are very large companies, but I just want to talk about that. That is a very common scheme. In addition, we know that other like marketplace websites tend to have more fake listings than others, without naming names. We've done our due diligence and try our best to contact them. And we've also are doing some discovery there on how we could potentially reduce those amount of fake listings being published. But definitely something those are the common schemes we see, but Sahil, I don't know if anything else you want to add.
No, fake listing is very deadly here when it comes to rental scams. We want to make sure that we continue to develop technology that is able to detect fake listings. There isn't one out there right now, but it's something that we want to continue searching and developing. It is something where the whole phishing and social engineering atmosphere starts off, because you lure in the victim who is very desperate and vulnerable, and you kind of play on those emotions. to lure them more in, right? So we want to make sure that there are enough alerts out there. We want to make sure that we are leveraging the right security technology to make sure that those fake listings get flagged in the right timeline and get taken down so that more and more people don't get that fake information. Let's move on to the next slide here.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sahil and Jared. Moving on, we will discuss the best practices. So yeah.
Yeah, the best practices here are pretty something that we have addressed overall throughout this webinar, but want to talk about it more in a deep dive manner. Verify all leads, ID and selfie verification. We want to make sure that you have a tool to verify your ID and selfies. If you currently don't have a tool to verify your ID and selfie in a systematic way, then I would recommend you to follow up with all your leads. Make sure that you are speaking with everyone that has gone into your property, making sure that you are verbally vetting them over a call or an email so that you know that they haven't done any bad deeds there. But just to be proactive, because that would be a reactive effect, to be proactive, I would recommend to make sure that all your ID and selfie, all your leads are verified with that, and you know for sure that they are good actors. So engaging with them within 24 hours, making sure you leverage the ID and selfie technology would be a game changer right off the back for you if you're trying to navigate some of the scams that you might be having in your region. Monitor your home with a fraud detection system. So that is our security stack that I would recommend in terms of building it for yourself. You do want a system that is going to be able to locate where the individual is, where the devices are, whether the individual has turned on VPN, and those kind of signals will be able to determine if this individual has bad actor patterns or good actor patterns. Smart sensors go a long way, especially in a squatter and a vandalism situation. If you have movement in your off hours, you're able to detect that right away and take actions. This is particularly important for properties that are in out there areas and rural areas where it's kind of hard to get to, where you have a hard time sending all your agents to do a checkup at all times. These kind of sensors are game changers for you because you'll be able to detect unsolicited activity and take actions quicker than the usual rounds that you might be doing on all your properties. Installing smart locks goes hand in hand with this. One of the most common security scams that we see is taking the key. If you install a smart lock, you'll be able to eliminate that problem. If you have an individual that has taken occupation of the property illegally, you can wipe out all the codes and they will never be able to gain entrance inside the property again. So those are the things that can really help you. Geofencing is another one that a technology can help you as well to make sure that this person is where they say they are, to make sure that they are not traveling long distances, which are unrealistic, from Florida to Texas and making another entrance within an hour. So we know that that's impossible for you to do. So that's geofencing there. Jared, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I'm actually just gonna highlight some of the technology behind these processes. So the verify all leads with ID and selfie verification. There's a lot of ID and selfie verification tools out there where that are just simply just a picture. We started with that, just to be completely transparent. We started with just, hey, we'll take a picture of the front, back, and selfie. But then we learned that actually the people are putting in fake IDs, right? So then we moved into a technology that actually uses biometrics. It actually reads your facial structure and then it matches it to your ID. Not only that, that technology itself it is able to identify through AI that it is an actual ID by taking a picture of the front and the back. It can know if anything is manipulated, and this technology is being used by major institutions across the world. And so sometimes technology providers will say, hey, yeah, we do ID and selfie verification, but make sure it's not just somebody taking a picture, right? And if you are experiencing application fraud, that could be why, right? So really look into that. That's very important. So when you're looking into application fraud as well, it's tied directly into, am I who I say I am? And the ID verification is a very key component to that. I don't want to engage with all leads within 24 hours. A common thing we've learned is that we're talking about social engineering. This is more of a process thing we recommend. I think there's a common mindset that when I use self-touring, I don't need to call my leads. I'll just wait till they apply, right? So I just let Rentley take the wheel, let any other provider take the wheel and drive, and then when I get an application, I'll work that application. That sounds very convenient for you, but what's happening in that lapse of communication is a scammer's coming in and they're infiltrating their mind through social engineering. So you're actually getting people being manipulated. So we've learned that those that contact their leads within 24 hours, they're actually reducing 95% less scams than those that aren't. And it's all because they are contacting their customers. And you know, there's something to talk about that. There's other tools that could help in that engagement. More to come in the future at Rentley, and I'm sure other providers that you use do something similar, but Rentley's really taking action here because we're learning that's the commonality between it. That lapse of communication could cause issues. And then also, like, they've done studies on it that a renter expects to be contacted within 24 hours after it. If not, they get very uneasy, and to the point to not only do they want to rate you bad on your Yelp, they also want to rate other technology providers that they've interacted with as well. So monitoring your home with a fraud detection system. Now, a lot of people say they do this, but do they really do this? And is it intelligent, right? Like, one thing about having a large traffic of a large volume of renters allows this company or any company that utilizes this technology for the machine to learn what is bad and what isn't. So taking all these signals, device location, VPN masking, smart sensors, geofencing, all of this into consideration, like when companies like Rentley has a technology behind the scenes, when we start detecting, Sahil's team will detect if these people are bad actors. When his team does that, the system learns and gets smarter. So if anybody comes with that profile that's labeled as a bad actor, and they won't continue to view, right? So I wanted to highlight that because some people say they do this, but it's not. So Sahil, tell me a little bit about the VPN masking, right? How many have you blocked or have you found that are using a VPN, would you say, in like the last month?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's one of our latest rollout here. We're able to detect an individual has the VPN technology turned on. And one of our first steps is to make them aware, because we do see that there might be some bad actors who might have accidentally turned it on. But we do have a set of, good actors turning bad with the VPN signal. And for the last 30 days, we have found around 300 users who had it turned on, and all were bad actors. So we're really making some headway in rolling out this technology. One thing else I wanted to add that Jared mentioned about the biometrics with the selfie, it's very important. We want a live selfie upload. And what does it mean by live selfie is what Jared was touching upon. We want the face to be moving left and right to make sure that this is a live person uploading the selfie. That eliminates this whole passing the information, because very well someone can pass you a picture of themselves and say, upload this on my behalf. How do we know that that hasn't happened? So we stop that from happening. We require them to not upload it from their library or their selected photos that they have, but actually do a live selfie.
Awesome.
Great. Those are some great best practices. And I mean, thank you, Sahil and Jared, so much for that deep dive. So moving on to the next slide. Yeah. Few more other things that we do provide, like watermarking your images. Sahil, Jared, do you want to dive deeper into these?
Yeah, absolutely. Another best practices, especially when it comes to fake listings, is to take care of your images. We want to make sure that you watermark them, and there are creative ways to watermark your images. You can put in your phone number, which will be very, less likely that someone is going to miss that phone number and not call it, right? You can blast your name on it, your company's name on it, and a combo of both of them, if that's better for you. I think taking aggressive steps on watermarking your images is one quick step way to make sure that you're battling scams using the best practices here. Anything on watermarking, Jared, you want to add?
Yeah, I actually want to highlight that it seems that it wouldn't be impactful, but it very much is. At my last company, I worked for an automotive website, and we used to actually sell leads to car dealers, right? And how our car dealers would get around paying for those phone calls is by watermarking those images. And those that we learned that the consumers are actually, they're so of course, I was at that company, I was trying to make money for the company. So I was like, how can I fix this as a product manager there? But what I learned as a product manager there, I learned that this is effective, right? Our car dealers are getting majority of their calls from these watermarked images. So they do see it, and we do see in our analytics that the images is the most viewed section of our internet listing site. So that's where you will see most of the traffic go to, is to your listing. So not only taking good photos is good for your conversion, but it's also good to have that watermark visible for the renter as well, because they do see it.
Yeah, it's a great point. Collateral in your home, warning renters about scam, that's super crucial, and such a small thing that can go a long way. Just placing brochures about your property, about your company at different points of the house, placing your business card so that they can reach out to one of your team members, literally goes a long way and really disturbs the narrative that the scammer is feeding to the victim. What we want to do here is that what I've noticed over the years is the victim is looking for those red flags along the way. And the more red flags we can place on the user's journey when they're looking for them, the most likely they're going to wake up and abandon the scammer's narrative, right? So this kind of a collateral goes a long way, because when they're going through the property and let's say they are being influenced by someone who is pretending to be a landlord and using religious language to influence them and make them feel guilty, these collaterals will remind them that they are taking the wrong steps, will remind them that they actually need to abandon this and call the property manager right away to sort it out. So very, very important. A really easy thing for you to do. I've seen property managers place stickers that say Craigslist and an X on it, and other such things like don't believe the scammers, never wire any money, other such things like that can really go a long way. Something you want to add here, Jared?
No, let's talk about self-touring, whether you use Rently or another provider. It's not only a digital experience, it's actually a physical experience, right? So they're not only looking in the screen and how to unlock the door, they're actually walking into the property. They're experiencing all of their senses in that. And having that physical collateral there may speak to the person more than actually just them seeing a screen and clicking next real fast, or them seeing a text message. Like, I don't know about you all, but I get tons of text messages from all these different closed websites. So much so that I'm just getting I'm getting so many messages about this. So they just see another message saying don't wire money and all this stuff. People are being trained and desensitized to that, but they're not trained and desensitized to when they see something in front of their face that says, hey, don't wire money. Like, I am the property manager. Here's my contact information, right? So something to really consider that. I think it's easy to think that the digital solution will solve everything, but it's not going to. It needs to be more.
Yeah, absolutely. This third top bullet point here is very important for me as well. Educate your team on how to spot scam red flags. This is quite important because we do have a healthy amount of good Samaritans reaching out to our renter team every day, alerting us of scams that they have been sort of involved with and abandoned, or alerting scams of someone, of a loved one, where they really just want to alert us, or even alerting us on fake listings that they have seen on the internet. You know, it's very important that your team is able to digest that information in a correct manner and is able to take actions accordingly in a fast manner too. So we are here to collaborate with you in terms of educating you on your team on how to spot out those red flags and take quick actions. It's very important to collect that data and possibly share the data with us, and that will help us keep our security stronger, as well as for you too. But educating your team, training them, making sure that they're able to wake up the renter that is calling in and reporting the scam is a great way to battle rental scams right off the bat. Something you want to add here, Jared, in terms of education, awareness, and training?
Yeah, I think Rently growing to 400 employees, this has been a challenge for us, right? You think that people know, but they don't know, right? So we've learned to over communicate. So over communicating with your staff and your team and helping them understand how to spot scams, because some of you are experienced, you've been running your business for many years, but when you're hiring somebody who's starting to take on this new job, they may or may not be able to spot it like you will, because you just have that experience to do that. But over communicating that to your staff will really leak into overall a better rental experience for your renters, and then at the same time prevent scams. That's all I have to add.
Absolutely. Income verification for tenant financial standings. I mean, that is very much related to what we saw earlier in our poll. About 25% of you all were experiencing application fraud. You know, income verification is quite important. How do you know how much money I'm making? You don't know. I can say whatever I want to, and if I know for sure that you don't have any capability of verifying that, then I'll be way more bold on what type of financial walking I'm coming from, right? So we want to make sure that we fully vet them. We want to make sure that we are using a technology and a tool that is officially vetting them, using the right stats to vet them so that we don't get a false positive there. But income verification is one of the most crucial things to do when it comes to application fraud. Another angle of application fraud is the identity fraud. So we want to make sure that your identity is secure, and we want to make sure that your income verification is secure as well. So that way we can fully establish you are, say, who you are, and you are making that money that you're saying that you're making that money. That is why that rental place will be allowed to you as well. So anything you want to add here for income verification that you've seen?
Yeah, I just want to talk about how important this is, verifying your income and using an application provider that includes that. Many application providers will try to dissuade you about the importance of this, because just the truth is it cuts into their profits, right? It gets very expensive to verify people's incomes when you're being able to do a single sign-on to their bank account and create algorithms to be able to understand like what their monthly income is, or to take pictures of their, or logging into their payment, to their ADP or wherever they get their payroll, or to taking pictures of these documents. A tech stack like that gets very expensive for a technology company. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll try to dissuade you from that. But as you're seeing, 25% of you all are receiving application fraud, right? So I encourage you, whoever you use for screening, I think that's a very important piece to look into, and keep that seed planted in your brain, and actually look into that as you are looking in your application fraud and actually seeing the details. You'll find a lot of it's just fake income statements. They aren't who they say they are, and then getting to the root of that is very important.
And you know, one thing that's important here, and I can, you know, just being in this industry, I understand that this could be a quite exhausting process to really verify a renter through application, because a lot of these pieces might be available individually in the market, right? In terms of verifying your identity, verifying your information, as well as getting a good credit score, all available in different facets. So it can be very exhausting. So I really recommend for you to look for a product that will encompass all three of them together and provide you that solution in one say, right? That's going to not only optimize your operation, it's going to scale your team, and it's going to scale your application arena as well, while making it fully secure. Instead of you hopping to another software to verify your identity, to another software to verify someone's information, income information, and then to go to another credit union, credit score to get that as well. So can be exhausting, but if it can be available in those three technologies in one package, then that would be really golden for you.
Agreed.
Great. I mean, thank you so much, Sal and Jared. I mean, those best practices and all that information that you just shared. I mean, I mean, I'm really fired up, and I do want to mention that I agree. Having one system that manages all all aspects of the entire leasing and rental process can significantly help you control any fraudulent activity that can potentially happen. But with that, I mean, I really want to thank the audience. We do have some really good questions that have come in, so I'm extremely thankful for for the engagement that I'm seeing. So yeah, I'll start taking up each question now. So the first one, does Rently send any information to the prospect who signs up for a tour about avoiding rental scams? Um,
Yeah,
You want me to take that? You can
sure,
take it,
sure. Go
Sahil.
ahead. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we can both answer that one. That's a great question. We do send multiple alerts throughout the user journey, right when they're creating their account, all the way up to entering a property. We use that journey in different ways to create those alerts. You get the alerts right off the back when you're creating your account, and then you get another set of alerts right when you're about to enter the property. We do believe that this kind of double awareness can really jog your memory and make sure that you're not taking the wrong steps. Jared, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, no, one of the words I learned from our designer, because we have two teams fully dedicated on scam prevention, and I've learned the word forcible friction, right? They design forcible friction in order for them to be aware of the scams. And we're looking at our data, and we've noticed that a lot of the times people just skip through this friction, or even the text messages. We can't see so much the data there, but so that's where we were kind of emphasizing on the visual collateral on the physical experience will help. But one thing we are coming out with that sneak peek, you can learn about it at the NARPM, and I think it's in Oceanside or Carlsbad. Sorry if I'm butchering that. But there we're coming up with a feature called dynamic self-showing, where that will allow you to customize sort of some of those notifications and how you want to present that experience to your renters. So we're very excited about that. Through all the talks we've had through renters and all the talks we've had through property managers, we learned, hey, we need to put the control in your hands, right? Because a lot of times we're just, Sahil's team just making all these decisions, but we're also learning that you guys have specific experience in specific markets, and we want to give you that flexibility. So coming out is dynamic self-showing. You'll hear about it. You'll see, we'll have some collateral there for you, and then you can see how that's going to help you with those alerts and things like that at the conference.
And one pro tip I want to add about the alerts to anyone who asked the question is that it's very important that you're constantly rebrushing the alerts, the content in the alerts, because we know that the scammer changes its tactics, so its trends. So it's very important that we change the language on the alerts so that we stay ahead of the game.
Great. Thank you, Sal. Thank you, Jared. Another really good question. What discussions is Rently having with syndication partners to assist?
Yeah, I could talk about this. So we've been working with the tours. I don't know how much I'm allowed to share. Okay, so but we've been working with various listing sites and getting a direct integration with them, so much so that there could be a button on their site and actually book a tour directly from their listing site. So that's been the latest things we're formulating. We've actually created an API or an integration where that's possible, and some major names are looking in that. Why we think that's going to help, because that takes that communication gap and actually closes that communication gap. So instead of waiting for an autoresponder, and with that autoresponder, then that autoresponder, them going to Tor, it's just straight there. They could go into Tor and get the education on scam prevention. At the same time, when we have these conversations with them, we tell them about the issues that we're seeing, and we bring up that awareness, so much so that like all new syndication partners that actually come to us, we thoroughly vet them. I'm working with one, I can't name the name, but basically they're actually sharing with me how they prevent social engineering and verify listings before we would even consider syndicating to them. So we have a vetting process here, specifically going over the verification of listings, because we know the fake rental listings is such a big problem.
Thank you so much, Jared. I do have a comment that came in that I'd like to open up for discussion. It says that it would help to have automation from Rently to auto-enroll leads or showings into a drip campaign. It can be overwhelming to staff to personally contact all leads. So is there something we're doing, or is there something we can talk about? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this is I'm very happy you said this. We actually are doing a beta for this right now, since we actually do TCPA compliance. So when they do enroll for self-showing, we actually are able to text message them. Product manager Sean, you could even email him if you want, if you're taking notes, Sean, SEAN @rently.com. You could reach out to him, and if you want to test out the beta of the drip marketing, where it's like, basically we call it triggers and workflows, right? If this happens, send this. If that happens, send this. So that is in beta. It is not available to the full public, so we're looking to get a small pool, about like 7 to 14 companies to test it, and then taking feedback from you all, we're gonna continually iterate to make it to where it could be marketable for the full market. So it is in development now. So if you want to be a part of that beta, go ahead and reach out to Sean. He would love to work with you.
Yeah, and also possibly just to add to that, like at the NARPM show that's coming up, if you're going to be attending it, Sean's going to be there as well. So you can meet him in person and get a deeper understanding of the beta feature that we have. Moving on, Sahil, I have another question for you, which is how can one use geofencing?
How can one use geofencing? That's a great question. You can use geofencing through a security software where you would have to establish a signal that's going to catch that whether a VPN signal has been turned on or not. And you would have to have the triggers to either ask the individual to turn off the VPN signal and move forward into the platform, or you would have to have a signal that's going to stop that individual from entering the platform, and then you can decide whether you want to make a decision later on or not on that individual. So it would require you to have a fraud detection system that is going to be a risk scoring model that can evaluate that signal, give you its recommendations on what to move forward with, and you can take decisions on that.
Yeah, if I could highlight here, this is a huge breakthrough from Sahil's team. We've been trying to detect VPNs for years on the product side with our own custom solution, because when you have people come onto the website with a VPN, they typically have there's some good actors there and they're willing to turn off their VPN, the Tor, but those that aren't, we know something's not right. So his team found a breakthrough in this, and we're actually able to do what he's saying. But I would talk to your provider and see if they can, because it's actually pretty revolutionary how they were able to do that.
Great, thank you, Sahil and Jared. I want to discuss something a little bit more about the listing site. So we had a comment come in which says, we have encountered scams coming through Craigslist. They have the properties listed and are sending them links, allowing the person to access the property and Zelle or Cash App funds. And in the past, in the last few weeks, they've had 2 people move into homes in Dallas, Fort Worth. So is there anything we can share here on like best practices or highlight in the best practices that we discussed to kind of prevent this incident from happening again in the future?
Yeah, well, this is a horrible problem. like an absolutely horrible problem, right? And it's very hard to detect these fake listings when they're published on listing sites. But we are actually in research and development, our scam prevention team is in how to detect those and alert them as being fake listings. So we're working on something. We don't know if it's going to work well or not. So we're actually in testing for that now. So one way we think is, okay, can we detect these listings for you? Because be a full-time job for you to do it yourself, right? So just so you know, we are working on that. But I think the best thing you could do is being, if they're going through the Rently process and they're fishing them into the Rently actual self-tour, the following up with your prospects is critical. Like talking to them and letting them know that you are the property manager, right? Without that, because typically what they're doing is they're pretending to be you. So that's one area that I think that is critical. Is they say fortunes in the follow-up, right? So following up with your prospects that go through Rently. I don't know what you want to say, Sahil.
I do want to say a lot, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say much because we do have something in beta testing. Currently, it's called Rently Watch List. If you have, what I want to say here is that with Jared and I's collaboration, we've always looked at rental scams from a property manager's perspective as well as a prospect's perspective, and never really looked at it from a property's perspective. What happens if a property is flagged, and we all know that this is an escalated property that's most likely going to have different facets of scams. It could have someone wire money on that property. It could have someone move into that property. So we're trying to figure out through data, the velocity of when the scam is first reported to us, either by the property managers or by a prospect, and how long it takes for a squatter to move in from the reporting to the squatter moving in. That's one set of data. But in terms of the watch list beta program, what we do is that we collect the properties that have been escalated in a potential squatter situation. We put them on a special fraud detection filter where we start monitoring who's going in and out of the property. That way we can create severe rules and more customized rules on those particular properties instead of implementing them in a blanket style throughout the whole ecosystem, right? That really helps us narrow down without losing SGT conversion. But again, this is still a little bit in the beta testing. Once there's a little bit more development, I'll be talking about it more.
Great. Thank you, Sahil. Thank you, Jared. Thank you so much. I think that's some great information. And those were all the questions and comments I wanted to discuss. Again, I really thank everybody in the audience for joining us and, really engaging with us throughout this session.